Welcome, Sarah. Thank you so much for taking the time to record this case study. Can you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us why you're learning French and why you're on this roadmap adventure?
Yeah, so my name's Sarah, and I live in the United States, and I'm a nurse, and I'm a travel nurse, which for people who don't, especially if you don't live in the U.S., might not be very familiar with that. But basically, I work contracts at hospitals that are short-staffed for about 3 months at a time, and so I travel quite a bit for work. My location changes quite a bit. But I'm in school to be a nurse midwife, and the reason that I want to learn French is because I really like doing humanitarian work overseas, and a lot of organizations such as MSF want nurses or nurse midwives who are able to speak French so that they can work more effectively in those contexts.
Very nice. So just to summarize, you basically move places every 3 months or so, and you work full-time as a nurse. And you study a master study to be a midwife, and you learn French and also Spanish.
Yes.
So you're like crazy busy. And I hear that right now you're also helping your sister who's just had a third baby, right? Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, so I came home for that. Yeah.
Wow.
So pretty busy.
What's your secret? How do you pull it off?
Oh, well, I've gotten better over the years at organizing my life and prioritizing. But do you mean like what's my secret to doing French and all of that, or?
Yeah, I mean, like, how do you keep yourself busy and healthy enough? And that was more of a like side question, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think most people would be like, "Wow, how does she do it?"
Yeah. Some days I even ask myself that question, but no, just getting, I guess, like routines and habits down that I can consistently do even when I'm changing my location quite a bit. Kind of like a morning routine that kind of grounds me. And that's honestly why I like the roadmap so much, because it's something that I can incorporate into a schedule that changes pretty frequently. Mm-hmm. So,
can you maybe tell us a little bit more about that? Like, how have you been using the roadmap to learn French in the middle of all this?
Yeah. So, I think it was about a year ago that I first came in contact with you through Italki. And at that point I had gone to France for about a month to do an immersion program, and that was how I got a base in French. But then I was trying to keep up with it back when I was in the States and keep progressing with it. Even though I was back at work and, had a busy schedule again and wasn't able to devote all day to learning French. And so do you remember when we first did the roadmap? It wasn't.
The roadmap is from May 2018.
Okay, so not quite a year. But anyways,
so just for the record, now is February 2019.
Right. Oh, perfect. No.
and we also have a previous testimonial from you, which was from June 2018, so just 1 month after you got the roadmap. But now you can, of course, tell us more about what happened next.
About that. Yeah.
What they want to know.
Yeah, so I was using it because I wanted some structure, even though I can't always devote the same amount of time to studying French every day, but I still kind of wanted a plan. And so I liked it because I was able to incorporate it into my life. But then I even took a long break from studying French in the fall, like this last fall when I started grad school, and I was traveling internationally too. And I just kind of needed a break. You can only devote so much of your time to so many things. Mm-hmm. So I knew I would come back to it. I knew that I wouldn't give up learning French entirely, but just I had to focus my time on other things. And so what's been really nice, and honestly what's kind of helped me really just believe in the process, is that I was able in January to start using my roadmap again and using those principles. And I was surprised at how quickly I got back into the routine of learning French and how much I enjoyed it even after a break. It wasn't like I was starting back at zero at all. So I've been using it now with with being home and helping my sister, and we have like small children in the house, and anyone with kids knows that your routine changes on a day-to-day basis if you have kids. I'm also in grad school and I'm going back to work next week, but I've been using it to like when I have small bits of time to work on French. I don't have to like spend 2 hours working on French. It can be something really small, like 10 minutes. Like I have a spare 10 minutes, so I'm going to look at my vocabulary, or I have 15 minutes of downtime between activities, so I'm going to watch a YouTube video in French. Like there's certainly times where I devote longer periods to studying or like to having a conversation with you on Skype. But I guess I've been using it a lot just to make the most of the time that I do have when I have it. So,
would you say that your French level has increased or changed or got better since you have the roadmap?
Oh,
because
absolutely.
It's where you get it, right?
Yes.
Does it work? That's the question.
Yeah, it does work. It absolutely works. And it's hard to, I think we're all our own worst critics. Like a lot of times if I haven't spoken French in a while and then I first started speaking it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm so rusty. But honestly, like it comes back really quickly. And just the feedback that I've gotten from other people who speak French and other instructors that I have too, they're like, no, like you're fine, like you're doing well, you're progressing. And so I absolutely think it has improved my level, and it's been really rewarding for me.
Do you think maybe, I understand that you're your own worst critic, so maybe the question is really hard, but can you maybe describe the difference between, or like describe your level before the roadmap and your level now, or the level you've had throughout working with the roadmap, other than the feedback given by people? Yeah,
I definitely have noticed that my comprehension has gotten a lot better in I guess just everyday French. I think part of that is probably from the different YouTubes that I've watched, like the different, because for anyone who hasn't done a roadmap yet with you, I'll tell them that like you, at least in my case, and I'm sure with anyone else, like you do such a good job of saying like, what are your goals with French and what kind of things are you interested in? And so I had like this resource of just YouTubes that were tailored to things that I am interested in. And so I've been watching those, but then also like finding ones that are related to that and just watching stuff just for entertainment's sake. Not even because I'm really trying to study. And I've noticed that sometimes I'm just watching it and I'm enjoying it and I don't feel like I'm studying. So my comprehension has definitely gone up a ton in that regard because, even a year ago or a couple months ago, it was stressful at times to watch certain videos because I'm like, I don't understand most of this. But now a lot of times I do understand quite a bit of it. And even if I don't understand small parts, I can get enough from the context to just enjoy it and not stress out about like the 30% that I don't understand. So, and then I think that my oral expression has gotten better. I feel like I can talk about things that are applicable to my life, like in recently, like how much I've been traveling or the challenges that one deals with when they fly frequently. So yeah, I feel like I'm more capable about talking about things that I actually do and like conversations that I would actually have in a real life situation in French. So.
Well, that sounds pretty good. I mean, congratulations to you on like using it so well. And so your goal is to work with MSF, Médecins Sans Frontières, which is an organization which sends French-speaking doctors and nurses to developing countries, right? Just stating it for the watchers.
I mean, they work in countries that don't speak French as well, but the majority, a lot of their most urgent needs are in Francophone countries. So
how are you feeling right now about that? So it's not yet now, like it's 1 year down the line or so?
Oh, it'll be a few years down the line because I have to finish because I have to finish my master's first and then probably practice a couple of years as a midwife before applying for them. But I feel honestly like the level that I'm at now, like I honestly want to keep getting better, but I feel very confident that I'm going to be where I need to be by the time I apply with them. So
that's pretty good, and that's without staying in French-speaking countries at all. I mean, you're staying in the US, right, most of the time?
Right. Oh yeah, I haven't been to France for it's been like 2 years now. So it's been 2 years since I first started learning French, and I started at 0.
So you went to France 2 years ago, and you started at 0, and then you didn't go back to a French-speaking country. You learned everything from there.
Everything has been
being crazy busy and not having any French-speaking surroundings, only the roadmaps and
the roadmap and things like it, conversations online, like with italki teachers or with you, because that is part of at least my roadmap is like trying to have at least one conversation a week with a French speaker.
Yes.
So
you're doing that. You're trying to stick to one conversation per week, more or less.
Yes.
Well,
yeah. I mean, more is nice, but with my schedule, that's not always feasible. But I'm seeing. I feel like honestly, though, like supplementing. I guess in the past before the roadmap, I was doing a lot of conversation, like trying to book a lot of conversations in a week. And then I realized that I don't actually have to do that. Like I can have a conversation a week and then supplement it with the roadmap activities, and still progress pretty quickly with that.
So does that mean that the roadmap actually led you to have less conversations but progress more? So dedicate less time and money but progress more? Would you say that seems to be what you meant?
I think so. I mean, at least right now, yeah. I think part of it's because I'm more likely to stick with it than like when I have a really crazy schedule in a week and be like, oh, well, I don't have time to, do three conversations with the French speaker. So like, I'm just not even going to bother. Like I'm finding that I'm making more progress if I just can at least stick with the basic principles of the roadmap. And then if I have the time to fit in more conversations, great. But yeah.
Great. That's really good. Thank you for sharing that. Can you maybe share a little bit about the process of the roadmap and how it felt for you to be working with me and just getting your roadmap done, and maybe working with me in general, because people wonder if I'm in real life, like in the videos.
Yeah, I loved the process. I was actually impressed at how intently you listened to me, and I felt like you really looked at what my specific goals were for French, because my goals for French are obviously not going to be the same for everyone else who's trying to learn French. And so I liked how personalized it was. I liked how you didn't just say, okay, like obviously I want to work for MSF, but you also just looked at other things that I'm interested in, and found just these incredible resources that I had not been able to like access on my own before that. So I liked that. Like I loved the roadmap when I got it, and I still do, even not quite a year later. But even after like taking a break from it for a few months and then going back to it, like it's a good resource. And then as far as our classes, I really enjoy them because you're so encouraging, but also I get so much out of each class, and you do such a good job of helping me express myself in French in a way that sounds French, like more French and more fluent and more natural. And I've really enjoyed working with you. It's been very rewarding.
Thank you. That's really nice. And if a friend approached you and asked you if you would recommend to work with me, what would you tell them? Or in which case would you tell them to do it or maybe not do it?
I would tell them that if they were really serious about wanting to like take their French to the next level, that you would be a great resource for that. I would also just let them know that it can be an intense hour, just because. I mean, usually by the end of it, I'm like, wow, like I've spoken so much more in French than I thought I was like capable of and going to. And so just to kind of be ready for that, but to also know that like you have a good balance of like of pushing students to like express themselves in French, but also not being like so intimidating that I like don't want to show up for a lesson. So
that would be counterproductive.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, and I would just let them know that like you know what you're doing clearly, like you're a polyglot and you've coached a lot of students to fluency in French, and I can see why. And I mean, clearly, like I'm still coming back for lessons, so
you are.
Well, so that's what I would tell them.
Right. Well, that's pretty good. Yeah, in terms of coming back for lessons, I just want to specify for the viewers that so you've been having a couple of lessons with the roadmap, and then you had a long break with no lessons at all from me. You had conversations, but with other people, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like I recommend that people take lessons, you know, with you. It's awesome. But if they were like, if they had other opportunities to speak French elsewhere, or it's not like it's tied just to you. Mm-hmm. Like you can have this roadmap resource and like never take a lesson with you again, which I wouldn't like recommend that to people because you're awesome. But you could honestly just have this fantastic resource and have it still be valuable, like beyond, even if they didn't have any further interactions with you. I don't know if that's what, yeah, if that made sense.
Yeah, the question was just to try and explain whether you had been intensely studying with me to get these results or not.
No.
You haven't.
No, I mean, I took a long break. You know, I was doing, and honestly, some of my conversations that I had were just with like community tutors on Italki. Mm-hmm. And so they were very laid back, very informal, but just me trying to like keep conversing with someone in the language, you know, and just keep, because I live in the US and I don't live in an area where people speak French. So, you know, you have to find ways to keep conversing in it, which we're fortunate in this day and age that we have the ability to do that. I think more than at any point in history. But
would you say that sorry?
Okay.
Would you say that the roadmap also helps with that, finding ways to converse and knowing what to converse about and so on?
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm trying to get that to work. So
yeah, no, it
is good. I'm happy.
Especially because just the types of things that it, you know, specific to me, like topics that I'm interested in, mm-hmm. That gives me more vocabulary to just have a regular conversation with someone that I would have in English about something that I'm interested in, mm-hmm. But to have it in French. So it definitely gives me ideas of things to talk about. Sometimes if I schedule a conversation with someone, I don't always know what to talk about beyond the just getting past the introductions of like who I am and why I want to learn French. So.
And so with the roadmap, you've been able to get past this introduction?
I think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, now you're not stuck to the introduction anymore. Is that what you mean?
Oh yeah, I'm way past that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So now you can speak about a variety of topics with people that you meet?
Yeah, like you know, self-care, or even like plant-based eating, or just whatever thing that I am interested in at the time. Like I remember 6 months ago, I was paying off my undergrad student loans. And so I was having a lot of conversations about that and the things I was doing to save money and to work hard and to be disciplined and get out of debt. And so, I mean, that was way beyond my just introduction about why I wanted to learn French. So.
And so you can have conversations about all of these topics in French now, easily.
Yeah, well, easily depending on the topic. Like if I know the vocab, then obviously a lot more easily than if I'm not familiar with it. But that being said, I can usually kind of figure out a way to come up with a word, like talking with the other person, like describe it, and then usually they can say, "Oh, it's this word," and like, yeah, that, and go from there. So
that is really awesome. I'm so amazed at the progress that you've made with all the work that you've had with being in school and taking care of your nieces and your nephew and your work, of course, full time, and moving every 3 months. It's freaking amazing. I'm amazed. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to the people watching the case study?
I just would say that if you're serious about learning French and really kind of breaking past the intermediate plateau that I think a lot of us hit and then kind of feel stuck at, like you're not a beginner, but you're not fluent. I would really recommend this resource because it's at least helped me to stay motivated to keep learning French. And I don't have anyone, at least like close to me, who's also trying to learn French. So sometimes that can be kind of isolating when you're trying to work really hard for a goal that like no one, it's not that people discourage me from learning it, but there's no one else around me, at least in my day-to-day life, who's also trying to do the same thing. So this was really helpful for me to just keep going with it and to not give up when things got kind of, rough at that intermediate plateau.
So by keep going, you mean keeping having conversations and keeping being in touch with French language and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and ways to just find ways to keep it interesting and to just keep me motivated to keep doing things with the language
and get the results as well.
Yeah,
because motivation is great, but on its own.
Yeah. But you need to see some results and see like that you're getting better, and you have the there's a thing to track your progress in different areas of what you can do with the language, and so that is helpful to see too that you are making progress. So
great. Well, I think I've asked everything. You've been doing a great job of learning French, and this was a really, really interesting case study. So thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.